Hello, I'm Pastor Dave, and this is your Monday morning sermon recap. Now, this Sunday was a little different because East Salem had their Sunday school picnic, Otterbein had a sermon, and this is the recap for the sermon at Otterbein, which is on YouTube if you want to see it. So here we go. This week we heard of Israel's desire to have a king like the other nations around them. Wanting something someone else has is a very common desire for people. We can think that would be best for us, but it is not always the case. Time and time again, we see that when things are not going well, we want some type of change. That's often when we desire that change. And Israel provides us a great lesson when we are in those situations. Now, everything Israel did in this case is not bad. For one thing, Israel was correct in asking Samuel to have God appoint a king. The part they got correct was seeking God to do the work, not just to do them themselves. And when we do approach a situation where we want some type of change, it's important to remember God's role in it and to seek God's action in it. However, Israel didn't do everything right. Israel was incorrect in asking God to appoint a king. It wasn't asking God that was wrong, but it was their desire for something different. God had already set them on a path. The path where Israel was ruled by judges. Israel thought that wasn't the right path. And that kind of hits a deeper issue. It's a deep-seated one that we can have as a people. And Israel shows this. I mean, the problem was Israel assumed they knew better than God. God wanted them to have judges, not kings. The people wanted kings. Essentially, they thought they knew better than God. But it went beyond that. I mean, it really can impact our faith in a different way. Because when we assert too much control, we can actually impact how God works in this world. Especially when it comes to our patience. Because the lack of patience does not give God space to work. That comes up when things don't happen as quickly as we want them to happen. Or we think we know when things should be done. And this is something that really can impact us. Because when it comes to God fulfilling the divine plan, it doesn't necessarily rely on our approval of when things happen. And oftentimes we have the temptation to interfere. But the beauty of this is, regardless of whether we get involved or inhibit what God's initial plan is, or if we just sit back and let God work, the beauty is that God will be at work through all of it. Just as God worked through the kings of Israel, even though that was not the original plan, God will find a way to make things work. The thing for us is we have to decide whether we want to allow God to work or if we want to get our hands in the midst of it. We have a choice to make out of those two. So that's your recap for this week. Next Sunday, we're back to normal. East Salem worshiping at 8:45, Otterbein at 10:15, and we will be back to live streaming the East Salem service at 8:45 on the East Salem UMC Facebook page. But until next Sunday, I'm Pastor Dave, and I hope to see you in the pews.